What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co host, Eric Wilson. And hold on a minute, have to make a call. We're back, department. Yes, I'd like to make an inquiry. The New York Rangers are back. It was so over. It was such a cold streak. It was such a slump for the New York Rangers, but we are so back. 5-game winning streak. Igor Shesterkin with his first shutout in a very long time. The Rangers have been balling out. I've been loving this New York Rangers hockey. Before we dive into it, make sure to leave a like if you do enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. Comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. And follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Rangers. But without further ado, Eric, let's just go ahead and dive into it. How are you doing? And how are you feeling about the New York Rangers' latest win streak?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. And it feels good to be on this win streak. I think up until last night, I still wasn't fully convinced though. I was like, yeah, we put some wins together, but a lot of them were pretty sloppy. A couple were in overtime, and I was still skeptical. But then last night we kind of just went and balled out against Calgary. Igor got his first shutout since like April of last year, I think. So it's great to see him back because he was a major part of why the Rangers were struggling. The defense looked amazing. The offense was cooking, and it kind of seems like the pieces are falling back into place. I think on this channel we were always on the side of the argument where the Rangers were struggling, but they would bounce back. A lot of people were like, all right, let's just blow it up and start all over again in a few years, but we knew they'd come back, and well, we're back.
We are so back. And so I want to dive into this, Eric, and kind of just discuss what's changed for the New York Rangers. Of course, like we mentioned, it was really slow. Defense was terrible, inconsistent. Goalie, Shesterkin wasn't playing well. We had games where Jonathan Quick was in and he looked good, but Igor kept struggling. The defense was struggling, injuries all over the place. But in recent weeks, or really in the past week or so, the Rangers have really turned it around. And so, what do you think has been the main catalyst towards this return? What has helped the Rangers get this thing back on track? What's been that main factor?
Well, there's two different possibilities for this. The simple one is Connor Mackey, right? We got called up for one game, dropped the gloves, beat the heck out of someone, and then got sent down. And since then, the Rangers have gone 5-0. Some might argue that that was the Jacob Trouba helmet throw moment of the 2023-24 season that just fixed things on its own, but probably not. But it's kind of a funny coincidence that we always talk about it, and then something like that happened. Realistically, though, it's just the fact that the entire team is pulling their weight. I mean, you look back to right before the All-Star break happened. We said it a few times. The Rangers were basically crawling to the All-Star break, or more specifically getting dragged to the All-Star break by Artemi Panarin and Vincent Trocheck. They were pretty much the only two Rangers on the team that I considered to be playing well. And then, they picked up that massive win against Ottawa right before the All-Star break where they dropped 7 on the Senators. And then since then, they had the All-Star break, got their rest, and now they've won 4 straight since then for a total of 5. And throughout all 5 games, really, I'm seeing the entire team contribute. It's not just Panarin and Trocheck scoring points. Zibanejad and Kreider both had a goal recently. Zibanejad finally scored at even strength for the first time since like December, I think it was. The third line has been absolutely amazing recently. Will Cooley, Johnny Brodzinski, and Capo Caco, they're scoring goals. Brodzinski, I think, has like 3 goals in his last 4 games or something like that, or at least that was his stat line going into last night. Lafreniere started to score some more goals too. Lafreniere also had a lot of great looks and chances against Calgary last night. And even the defense too. Keandre Miller hasn't looked bad in the last few games. We've been very critical on him. Jacob Trouba served his suspension, came back. He's playing well. Adam Fox is still playing good. Gustafsson and Schneider, probably the weakest pairing that we have still, but I don't consider them to be bad. And then the biggest thing is Igor bouncing back, where Jonathan Quick at a certain point, a lot of fans wanted him to become the new starter. We made a video about it. We kind of said that for now, while he's the hot hand, he should earn a little bit more starts, but keep letting Igor work his way back up to his peak and his prime. And after last night, I know it was only one game, but a perfect shutout against Calgary. Steve Valiquette called it in the first period intermission. He said, I don't think Igor's letting one in tonight. 40 minutes later, he was 100% correct. It was truly a battle of the goaltenders. Igor and Jacob Markstrom looked phenomenal. You got to give a shout out to Markstrom too. He robbed Trocheck probably like 4 or 5 times in 30 seconds. But Igor just came out of it as the winner, and I think that's the biggest thing is just everyone is playing well right now. And we always said that was the one thing that would fix this team is just not getting carried by 1 or 2 players, and everyone's pulling their weight, and we're doing good now. So let's keep it up.
Hope they do keep it up. And I think some of the points that you made there that I want to touch on, I think, first of all, the increased productivity across the board. Like you mentioned, Zibanejad scoring at even strength. And I also think it's important to highlight the third line has been doing some good work. You know, we got a Will Cooley goal. Capo Caco, since returning from the injury, of course, we kind of discussed there was going to be some rust that he needed to knock off. I think it's fallen off now, and I think he's returning to form, and that's helping that third line become more productive, and helping some of those other players that he plays alongside be more productive. And now, of course, they did send Tyler Pitlick onto waivers, so he won't be with the team anymore. Johnny Brodzinski on the third line with Kako and Cooley. So that's something to take note of. But really, overall, the 2 main points that you mentioned that I like, first, like I said, the increased production across the board. And then, of course, the increased goaltending. That's huge. But I also think that there's been a lot more productivity and a lot more consistency on the defensive end. So what do you think about that? How are you feeling about these guys? I know you just highlighted Jacob Trouba in particular, but this was also a defensive unit that was banged up for a while in the season. Now, again, the Rangers getting healthier, which kind of leads me to another point that I have to make before I hand it off to you. I've been saying this Rangers team is just as good as they were at the beginning of the season. They're just not as healthy. They're just injured. That's always been every time I've done an episode and I've talked about this Rangers team, we've talked about their struggles. I've always said once they get healthy and get back in form and everybody knocks their rust off, this is still a dangerous team that's going to make a deep playoff run. I think that's what we're seeing in this 5-game winning streak. The team is healthier. They're playing more consistently. And so we're seeing better results. But Eric, I do want to hear your opinions on how the defense has performed recently.
A lot better, I will say. I mean, like I have it right here. You look at the last 4 games, a shutout against Calgary. Yeah, Igor was the man who made that happen, but he couldn't have done it without help from his defense. That game against Chicago, not the prettiest by any means. You know, they had a 2-goal lead. They had a 3-1 lead going into the third, and then they had to win it in overtime by 4-3. But then before that, you know, the 2 games before against Colorado and Tampa, when Jonathan Quick was in net, they only allowed 1 goal apiece in each game. So, like right there, again, Jonathan Quick looked amazing in that, and he definitely helped the defense, but the defense definitely also helped him. I don't think there's been a bad defender. Adam Fox looks to be back to his usual self, where he's still recording points. And, you know, we saw he had that like amazing toe drag against Chicago to set up Kreider for his goal, but he's also playing good defense. Ryan Lindgren still hasn't been like a standout player, but I think he's definitely been better than mediocre like he was during that little slump. Again, Keandre Miller has significantly improved over the last 5 games. You know, the first 40 games of the season, I probably could have named 40 moments that I wanted Keandre Miller to get traded away. But in the last 5 games, I probably can't name a single one. He's been solid alongside Trouba. Gustafsson and Schneider, again, average, but still improved, and I think their play is a lot more consistent. The penalty kill, as we know, has also been amazing. So, like, not exactly the defensive core, but a defensive aspect of the game, at least. They haven't allowed a power play goal in a decent portion of time. I forget exactly what it was, but I know that it's cooking right now. So overall, defense has been a lot better, and that's definitely a major part of why the Rangers are succeeding as much as they are right now. And like, I don't know, I'm looking at their schedule right now for the rest of the month of February. They have 7 more games left in the month of February. And honestly, the only one that I think might be an actual challenge for the Rangers is against Dallas on the 20th. But other than that, like, I can see the Rangers closing out the entire month of February, not losing a single game. And then you get to March, and then we play like Toronto, Florida, Boston, Tampa. And that's when we're going to lose a lot of games probably. But February's looking good.
I fear that you just jinxed this Rangers team. They probably were going to continue this winning streak, and then you said that. You should have just kept your mouth closed, Eric.
Dallas will be the only game that we win now.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know though. I think you're right. Listen, like I said, I just repeated this point, but I'm going to do it again. This Rangers team is still as good as it was at the beginning of the season. It was just more injured. Now, there is still time between now and the trade deadline. Not as much time. We're getting really close to the deadline. But like I said, think this team is as good as it was prior to the injuries. Just needed to get healthy. However, there are still holes on this team. What do you see that maybe could put this win streak to an end, if it does come to an end, whether it be in the month of February or in March? What do you think could hold this team back, and how do they address it at the upcoming trade deadline?
I would say the biggest problem right now would be, or the biggest goal they should have at the trade deadline is to ensure the continuation of offensive production. Where it's like, yeah, the Rangers have been scoring a decent amount of goals recently. In the last game against Calgary, they really only scored one plus the empty netter. Then I'm looking here. Like 4 against Chicago was good, but it's Chicago. They're like an AHL team. 3 against Tampa, and only 2 against Colorado. So like they're winning games, but they're not scoring like an abundance of goals. So I mean, we know that the first line right wing and the third line center, like the two big parts of the offensive core that needs to be touched. But honestly, at this point, I feel like I've been flip flopping on it like every episode that we make, saying like what should be the number one target. But right now, as of the time of this recording, I'm going to switch back to the right wing. I think that's what the Rangers should address first because honestly, I look back at the last 5 games and like I'm rocking with Johnny Brodzinski. He's scoring goals. That third line is producing, and like hate to say it, but we didn't get to see a lot of Philip Hedl this season. He only played in 10 games, but compare Hedl's 10 games to Brodzinski's last 10 games played, I guess I would probably choose Brodzinski. Just comparing the two, he's played better than Hedl did earlier this season. And again, I'm very biased because I don't like Blake Wheeler, but like I just don't think he fits on that first line. So having a new player like Frank Vetrano, which Will would disagree with because apparently now he's not on the Vetrano train anymore. Um, but there's a couple like Anthony Duclair. There's like a lot of players out there on the market. Like the market is very like dry this year. There were like 2 big targets and they're already gone in Lindholm and Monahan. So the Rangers might be like picking scraps. But to me, honestly, anything that's out there might be an improvement to Wheeler. So it would help Kreider and Zibanejad continue to heat up. And the power play needs to be addressed as well. Despite the Rangers being potentially back, the one thing that's like holding me back from 100% saying we are officially back is the fact that the power play hasn't scored a goal in like 6 games or something like that. It's been like horrible recently. And luckily 5v5 scoring has improved a little bit and the defense has improved to kind of counteract that decline in the power play. But if the Rangers do want to make it far in the playoffs and continue to win against the teams, like I said before, in the month of March, when they have like a really hard schedule, you're going to need some power play goals there too. So maybe getting another guy like Vetrano or Anthony Duclair who can help the power play too, that would probably be the direction that I would take at this point in time if I'm Chris Drury.
Yeah, I think improving the power play would be one of the few areas of weakness that the Rangers need to address. In terms of what you said about Johnny Brodzinski, just for reference, in his last 5 games, he has 5 points, 3 goals, and 2 assists. In the 10 games that Filip Chytil played this season, he had 6 assists, 0 goals, so 6 total points. So you do make a very good point in terms of the productivity that Brodzinski has put onto the ice in the last 5 games has been rather tremendous. And that was really what I was trying to say earlier, like that third line in general, you've got 5 points out of Brodzinski, 3 points out of Cooley, 3 points out of Kako. All of them have scored a goal. Brodzinski with 3, the others with 1 apiece. We're seeing a lot of productivity out of
That
that
third
third
line's
line.
kicking right now.
It is. And I think that's going to be the key. Like when we talk about heading into the playoffs, what this team really needs, it's productivity from their bottom 6 as well as their top 6. Like it was this entire team was getting carried by just the second line for a while. It was just like Panarin, Trocheck, and Laffy, and they were just carrying this team. But now that we're seeing a little bit more stable production from the first line as well, and the third line is stepping up and cooking, that's kind of the key, in my opinion, too. When we do get to the postseason, if the Rangers are getting production from those 3 lines right there, and then of course we got the fourth line grinding things out, they could keep that up, get production solid from those 3 lines. plus improve their power play just a little bit, I still think that this is a really dangerous team come playoff time.
Yeah. I mean, there's still 29 games left in the season for the Rangers. So there's still a lot of hockey left to be played. But at the end of the day, the Rangers are currently third overall in the NHL. So like unless the hockey gods decide to go like Kingdom Come on the Rangers right now and just ruin our lives, chances are like they're going to make the playoffs. So it's very important that Laviolette and Drury, they kind of use these next like 10 games are going to be very, very crucial, because this is really when they need to figure out what needs to be worked on, what needs to be nitpicked, and what can be improved upon. Because then once that trade deadline comes on March 8th, we're kind of just stuck with what we got. And I'm assuming the Rangers are going to make a move. I kind of wish they would have made one already, but I have a feeling if they haven't made one now, it's probably not going to happen until like March 8th. But I don't know. There's like reports going around that they're making offers. No, like we made an offer on Lindholm. Now we made another like super secret like offer for someone else that we don't know about. So something's going to happen soon. I don't know. The Rangers have been making a lot of moves, calling people up, sending people down. Pitlick on waivers. Kind of seems like Drury might be fiddling with the cap. I don't know, but we'll see. But it's going to be very exciting end to the year. Hopefully the Rangers can just win the next 29 straight, end off the season with a 34-game win streak, and then increase that 16 more to finish off the year with a 50-game win streak and hoist the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal. That's not going to happen. And honestly, like to that point, I'm going to say I think the Rangers need to have one more slump before the end of the regular season. On a more realistic note, would love them to go on the undefeated streak and just win out. But realistically, this team has proven that they go into slumps and they crack out of them, right? Like they snap out of these slumps and they get really good for a while, but then they slump again. We need this hot streak to last a good bit. Then we need a slump, probably like I would say 10 games out, and then we need to get hot again, right in terms of the right before the start of the postseason.
Yeah, I'm about to get superstitious for a second, right? You look back in like the last like 10 to 15 years, the team that everyone expects to win the cup never wins. You know, it's not like the NFL when like it's week one and everyone's like, all right, here you go, Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, like take your championship. It's like it's always just someone random. It's like whoever finishes like in between like fourth and like eighth overall in the league, that's like usually who wins it. So earlier this year when the Rangers were like cooking, I was like, this isn't good. Like I don't want to finish number one. But now we're third, you know, maybe one more little slump, finish like fifth or sixth. I'm cool with that. And I think that was what would give us the best odds right there. And look back last year, Boston finished like the number one team in history, and then they lose in the first round. Tampa, before Boston set their record, I think Tampa set the other record, and they got swept by Artemi Panarin in the first round. So, like, I don't know. Getting superstitious here. I need to point that out one more time before everyone yells at me in the comments like they always do. Just big brain in this one here, getting strategic.
Yeah, not necessarily me getting strategic or being superstitious. I just think that this team is going to have a slump again at some point. They've proven that they go in these cycles. We just need to make sure that that slump doesn't happen at the wrong time. They can't slump in the playoffs, you know, so like it's got to happen within those final like 15 to 10 games of the regular season. Go into a little slump, get hot right before the playoffs, dominate. Like that's what we need to see happen. No slumps in the playoffs. Otherwise, we're done. So
I still
that
prefer
works.
that we just go win 50 straight, but
Sure. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I would prefer that as well,
there
but
wouldn't be
we'll
much
see what
content
happens.
to discuss that.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, it's going to be fun though. I'm excited. I can't wait. Rangers are playing good. We're so back. It was so over, but we are so back, and so we're excited to talk about the Rangers some more. So stay tuned to Fireside Rangers. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. Comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Rangers. Without further ado, we'll catch you all on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Rangers.